Nobody was ready for this moment. Not the cameras, not the cast, not even the producers who thought they'd seen it all. But when Sierra walked in, dressed in black, eyes locked straight on Yandy, you could feel the entire room shift. It wasn't staged, it wasn't scripted, it was raw. Sierra didn't waste time with fake smiles or polite greetings. Ski came with one mission: to expose the truth, okay? And the truth hit harder than anyone expected. In front of the whole Love and Hip Hop cast, Sierra dropped the kind of receipts that couldn't be brushed off as messy. She claimed Mendeecees had been lying, not just to Yandy, but to everyone watching. And when she pulled out her phone and pressed play on that recording, the silence in the room was louder than any argument. Yandy's composure cracked. The cameras kept rolling, and suddenly, what started as just another filming day turned into one of the most explosive confrontations reality TV has seen in years. The air was already tense before Sierra even walked in. The cast had gathered in the lounge area, some scrolling on their phones, others half whispering about side drama that always follows filming days. But then, without any production cue, without anyone calling her name, Sierra stepped inside. Her presence was different. She wasn't laughing, she wasn't smiling. Her hair was pinned tight, her lashes sharp, her outfit all black, like she came with a purpose. And that purpose was written all over her face. Even Spice, who's known to always have a snarky comment on deck, didn't say a word. She just sipped her water slowly, watching. The energy dropped heavy. Every eye turned toward Sierra at the far end of the lounge. Yandi sat with her phone in her hand, scrolling, pretending not to notice the shift. But she felt it. Everyone did. And when Sierra's eyes locked onto her, she finally looked up. There was no fake smile, no warm greeting. Just two women staring at each other with years of unspoken tension. "I'm not here to play cute today," Sierra said flatly, her voice steady. "And I'm definitely not here to fake anything for." The cameras, you could hear the producers shuffle in the background. Even the crew leaned in, sensing that whatever was about to happen wasn't on the call sheet. Yandy stayed quiet at first. Her phone rested still in her lap now, her fingers frozen mid-scroll. The shift in her expression was small but noticeable. She knew this wasn't just another petty cast moment. Sierra stepped forward. "You sat in interviews and called me messy. You said I was clout-chasing, untrustworthy. But the truth is, I've been sitting on things that would shake this whole room if I let them out." That sentence was like a spark. Bambi immediately put her phone down. Rashida shifted uncomfortably in her seat. And even Kirk, who always tries to laugh his way out of awkward tension, gave a weak, nervous chuckle that fell flat. Everyone knew something big was coming. Yandi leaned forward now, her eyes narrowing. "Sierra, if you have something to say, just say it." And Sierra did. She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and tapped the screen a few times. Room grew dead quiet. Even background noise stopped. All attention was on her, and then it happened. The sound of a recording filled the space. At first, it was faint, but within seconds, the voices were clear. One voice belonged to Mendeecees. The other was a woman's. "So, why did you tell Yandi you blocked me?" the woman asked. Mendeecees' voice came back, low and careful. "'Cause she gets in her head, and I didn't want no more drama." A gasp broke through the silence. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Bambi looked directly at Yandy, but Yandy's face didn't move. No blink, no shake, just still. Sierra pressed pause. Her eyes never left Yandy's. That recording dated 2 weeks before the last reunion. So either he lied to you, or both of you lied to us. The room was frozen. Yandi let out a short laugh. But it didn't sound like humor. It sounded like survival. "You came all the way here with a 2-minute voice note. That proves what exactly?" Sierra didn't back down. "It proves he wasn't honest. And it proves you knew. But you kept acting like I was the problem." Her voice rose, sharp now. "I stayed quiet for months. I let y'all drag my name, But I'm done protecting people who don't protect me. The tension snapped in the air. Spice leaned over to Kendra and whispered something under her breath. Even Queen Key, who usually lives for these messy moments, stayed quiet, wide-eyed. This wasn't just shade. This was a bomb dot, and for the first time, Yandy's composure cracked. Her voice trembled. Her face shifted. She looked at Sierra, then at the cameras, and finally whispered, "You have no idea what he's put me through." Was the moment everything changed? The producers didn't cut. The crew didn't intervene. The cast sat frozen, waiting for what came next, because this wasn't just another argument. This was the start of something much bigger. The room was thick with silence after Yandy's whisper. You could almost hear. Hearts pounding, breaths being held, eyes darting from her to Sierra, to the cameras that captured every second. Then, almost on cue, the door creaked open. Mendeecees walked in. His timing couldn't have been worse. He glanced around, sensing instantly that the energy in the lounge was not normal. His face shifted, confused at first, then cautious, like he could already feel the weight pressing down on him. "What's going on?" he asked, trying to sound casual. Nobody answered, not a word. Yandi didn't even look at him when she said she played it. He froze, his body tensed. He didn't ask what did she play. He didn't even pretend to be clueless. He just rubbed the back of his neck and muttered under his breath. Guilt was written all over him. "You said it was over," Yandi said finally, her voice trembling but louder now. "You swore." "It is," he replied quickly, but the air was heavy with disbelief. Sierra wasn't about to let him off easy. She stood her ground, her eyes fixed on him. "You told her that girl was blocked? Told the whole cast we were stirring the pot." But this, she held up her phone. "This proves otherwise. You were still in contact, okay? And now Yandi out here? Defending you, looking like a fool while you clown her behind her back." Mendeecees' jaw tightened. He turned his head slowly toward Sierra, his tone low but sharp. "You need to be careful." The cast gasped. Sierra raised her brows, calm. "But cutting? Or what? You gonna lie again? Or maybe start recording me too, like you did Yandi?" That sentence landed like a bomb. Everyone turned toward Mendeecees, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. "What's she talking about?" Quinky pressed, eyes wide. "You filming people?" Now, the silence that followed was louder than any denial could have been. Mendeecees said nothing, not a word. And in that silence, Yandi broke. Her voice came out low, heavy, filled with pain. He said it was for his protection. "He told me if things ever went left, he'd have proof he didn't say anything crazy, that if I ever flipped, he could defend himself." The entire room went still. Spice put her hand over her mouth. Even Rashida looked stunned. Sierra shook her head in disgust. "So, you filming your wife while she crying? That's protection. That's love." Bambi jumped in before Mendeecees could respond. "No, that's manipulation. That's control." Mendeecees finally spoke, his voice rising just enough to cut the silence. "I don't know what this is, but if this some kind of setup, it ain't gonna work." Bambi snapped back. "Ain't nobody setting you up. You humiliated me. You made me defend you. You made me look crazy in front of everybody when I said you was solid. And the whole time you was lying." Mendeecees tried to reach for her hand, but she jerked it back. The pain in her eyes was raw. "You had me out here fighting battles I didn't even need to fight," she continued, her voice shaking. "I was out here protecting your name while you was out here protecting what? Her. Yourself." The cast looked on, some nodding in sympathy, others too stunned to speak. Spice's eyes watered, though she quickly blinked the tears away, whispering under her breath, "Damn, man." Sierra stepped forward again, her tone sharp but steady. "This is what I've been saying. I wasn't trying to come between y'all. I was trying to show the truth. But instead, I got dragged like I was the enemy. Now the truth's out, and look who's exposed." Mendeecees finally raised his voice, the frustration bubbling out. You don't know nothing about what me and my wife go through. You don't know what I gotta do to keep my family together? Sierra didn't flinch. No, I don't. But I know what a liar sound like, and you fit the description. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the cast. The tension was boiling over. Queen Key clapped her hands once, breaking the silence. This too much. If I was Yandi, I'd have walked out already. Cameras or no cameras. But Yandi didn't move. She stood there, frozen, staring at her husband like she didn't even recognize him. Finally, she spoke, her voice low and chilling. You recorded me crying. You lied to my face. You lied to my friends. And now you standing here like you, the victim. The cameras caught every angle, every tear threatening to fall. Bambi leaned forward, speaking softly but firmly. Sis, you don't owe him nothing right now, not even a conversation. You don't need to explain yourself, and you don't need to listen to excuses. Yandi's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. She looked at Sierra, then at the rest of the cast. Y'all think this is entertaining? Y'all think this is drama? But this is my life. This is my marriage. Nobody said a word. The silence stretched, uncomfortable, almost unbearable. Finally, Sierra broke it. Then take control of it. Stop letting him control you. That sentence hit like a dagger. Mendeecees' eyes darkened. He shook his head, muttering, "This is crazy. This is all twisted." But his voice lacked the confidence it once had. For the first time, he looked small, Dot, and Yandy. She finally sat back down, but this time her posture was different. She wasn't broken anymore. She wasn't trembling. She was steady, cold, calculating, ready. The cliffhanger was clear. Yandi wasn't going to stay silent anymore, and everyone in the room knew. The next words out of her mouth could end everything. The room was charged, like the moment before lightning strikes. Everyone sat on edge, eyes darting from Yandi to Mendeecees, waiting to see who would speak first. Yandi leaned forward, elbows on her knees, staring straight at her husband. Her voice came out calm but sharp as glass. Tell me the truth. Right here, right now, in front of everybody. No excuses. No, you don't understand. No half stories. Did you lie to me? The silence was deafening. Mendeecees shifted, his lips parting as if he was about to speak, but nothing came out. He swallowed hard, wiped his palms on his jeans, and finally muttered, I didn't want to hurt you. The words hung in the air like poison. Spice's eyes widened. So that's a yes. Rashida shook her head. Girl, I swear men always think protecting your feelings means lying straight to your face. Bambi snapped. That ain't protection. That's selfishness. But Yandi didn't move. Her face didn't break. She stayed locked in on him, her eyes burning. So you lied? Mendeecees sighed, his shoulders slumping. I didn't want to lose what we have. That was the wrong answer. Sierra stepped closer, her tone icy. No, you didn't want to lose control. Big difference. Gasps echoed again. Even the crew, who normally stayed invisible, shifted uncomfortably behind the cameras. Yandi finally stood. This time she wasn't trembling. She wasn't broken. She was solid. For years I held you down, she said, her voice steady but fierce. When you were locked up, when people counted you out, I was there. When they dragged your name, I was the one defending you. And this is what I get in return. Lies. Recordings, embarrassment. The cast leaned in. Nobody dared interrupt her now. I gave up opportunities. I sacrificed my peace. I carried your weight, and you can't even give me honesty. Her voice rose, echoing through the room. Mendeecees tried to interject. Yandi, she cut him off, her hand raised. No, you had your chance to speak the truth. Instead, you gave me lies dressed up as love. The impact of her words hit hard, Spice whispered. Lord, this woman done snapped. Bambi leaned over to Rashida. She not playing with him no more? Sierra's lips curled into a satisfied smirk. For once, she didn't need to add fuel. Yandi was burning the fire herself. Mendeecees looked desperate now, his eyes darting from his wife to the cast, as if searching for someone to back him up. But nobody came to his defense. Finally, Kirk spoke, his voice cautious. "Look, bro, maybe you need to just own up. Stop deflecting. A real man admits when he's wrong." But that only seemed to agitate Mendeecees more. He shot back, "Y'all don't know what it's like to have the world against you. I was just trying to protect my household." Yandi laughed bitterly. "Protect your household? You couldn't even protect your marriage." That line cut deeper than anything else. The cast collectively inhaled, bracing for the explosion. But instead of exploding, Yandi's tone shifted. Softer now, almost sad. "You think lying keeps me safe? You think sneaking around keeps me strong? No, it weakens me. It humiliates me. It makes me question everything I've ever believed about us." Her words were heavy, like stones dropping one by one. Spice finally broke her silence, shaking her head. "Sis, you too strong for this. You deserve better," Rashida added. "Don't let nobody gaslight you into thinking you asking for too much. Honesty ain't too much." Mendeecees stood frozen, his jaw clenched, his fists at his sides. He didn't argue, didn't deny, didn't defend. For once, he had nothing to say. And that silence said everything. Yandi turned slowly, her eyes scanning the cast, the crew, the cameras. "Y'all wanted a show. Well, here it is, the truth. And it ain't pretty." The producers whispered frantically in the corner, debating whether to step in, but none dared cut this moment short. Finally, Yandi looked back at Mendeecees one last time. Her voice was calm, steady, final. "You don't get to play me anymore. Not on this stage, not in this marriage, not in this life." The room erupted, gasps, whispers, hands covering mouths. Spice stood up, pacing. Bambi grabbed her phone like she couldn't wait to text someone what just happened. Rashida clutched Kirk's arm tight. And Sierra. She just folded her arms, nodded slowly, and said, "About time." Mendeecees stood there, speechless, while the woman he thought he controlled just took her power back in front of the entire cast. And the entire world. The room was buzzing like a live wire after Yandi's final words. Nobody dared touch her. Nobody dared speak over her. The silence had cracked, and now whispers, gasps. And side conversations filled the space. Spice was the first to speak, pacing. Across the lounge, her accent sharp and heavy with emotion. "Me, Saya, believe this. After everything this woman do for you, this how you treat her? Nah, man. Me can't stand for this." Bambi nodded fiercely, snapping her fingers for emphasis. "Exactly. She held you down when nobody else would. You think you can just lie and get away with it?" Mendeecees raised his hands, his voice breaking through the chatter. "Y'all acting like y'all perfect? Like none of y'all ever lied, never messed up. But when it's me, suddenly I'm the devil." Rashida leaned forward, her tone calm but firm. "There's a difference between messing up once and building your whole marriage on half-truths. That's a pattern, not a mistake." The tension thickened again. The cast was splitting into sides. Kirk, always trying to play peacemaker, spoke carefully. "Look, I'm not excusing what he did, but sometimes men lie because they're scared. Not because they don't love you, but because they don't want to lose you." Bambi shot him a glare so sharp it could cut glass. "That's the dumbest excuse I've ever heard. Fear don't justify betrayal." Even Spice snapped Kirk. "Stop with de-foolishness. Fear never give nobody de right to deceive. Me tired of de excuses." Mendeecees, but Sierra was quick to cut him down. "Why not here? You embarrassed her in private, so now she gets to reclaim her power in public." "Fair trade," Rashida added. "Exactly. Can't pick and choose the setting when you the one who caused the mess." The tension sparked again. Voices overlapping, cast members defending, attacking, or shaking their heads in disbelief. Queen Key finally stood up, throwing her hands in the air. "I can't sit here no more. This ain't even drama. This is destruction. And I ain't about to sit front row to a marriage crumbling like this. She stormed out, her heels clicking hard against the floor. Her exit didn't stop the chaos. Spice. Bambi and Rashida surrounded Yandi, voices soft, supportive. Kirk and Mendeecees stood on the other side, muttering to each other in low tones. While Sierra stayed planted in the center, holding her ground like a general on the battlefield. Sierra's voice rose above the noise. You can all twist it however you want, but the truth don't change. He lied, he manipulated, and he recorded his own wife like she was the enemy. The words landed heavy. Even the ones who wanted to defend Mendeecees couldn't argue with. That, Mendeecees clenched his jaw, shaking his head. Y'all not gonna destroy my family like this? Not over some twisted version of events? But Yandi finally stood again, her voice clear, final, and piercing through the chaos. No, Mendeecees. Nobody destroyed this family but you. The room fell dead silent. Even Spice, who had been ready to throw a chair a minute ago, froze in. Her tracks. Yandi's words weren't loud, but they were undeniable. They carried the weight of truth, pain, and power all at once, and as she turned her back on him, walking toward the door with Spice and Bambi by her side, the reality set in. For everyone, this wasn't just a fight. This was the beginning of the end. The door clicked shut behind Yandi, Spice, and Bambi, leaving the room in stunned silence. Nobody dared breathe too loud. The energy had shifted. Yandi had walked out with her power intact, while Mendeecees was left standing in the ruins of his own lies. Sierra stayed frozen in the center, arms crossed, her phone still in her hand. She wasn't gloating, but her face said it all. I told y'all. Mendeecees dropped into a chair, burying his face in his hands. His voice was muffled but desperate. This ain't how it was supposed to go. Not like this. Kirk, always the fixer, sat down beside him, patting his back awkwardly. Man, you gotta understand. Once trust is gone, it's hard to get back. You can't patch that up with a quick apology. Rashida, standing nearby, shook her head. And you can't. Keep using fear as an excuse. Fear don't justify betrayal. Mendeecees looked up, his eyes glassy, searching the room for an ally, but the cast members avoided his gaze. For once, even the ones who usually defended him had nothing to say. Sierra broke the silence, her tone sharp but steady. Why I kept my mouth shut for so long. I knew when the truth came out it was going to blow everything up. But you brought this on yourself. Her words cut deep. Mendeecees turned toward her, anger flickering in his eyes. You think you saved her. By doing this, you didn't save nothing. You just humiliated her on camera. Sierra didn't flinch. No, I gave her the truth. It's what she does with it. That's her power, not mine. The room buzzed with murmurs again. Even the producers at the back looked shaken. They knew they had struck reality TV gold, but the cost was heavy. Suddenly, the door opened again. Yandi walked back in. The room went still. Spice and Bambi were behind her, standing like guards at her side. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried fire. She looked straight at Mendeecees. You wanted to talk without the cameras? Too late. You should have told me the truth before it came to this. Mendeecees stood, reaching out. Yandy, please. Don't throw away everything we built. Her voice was steady, cutting like a knife. You threw it away the moment you chose lies over loyalty. Gasps echoed again. Spice whispered woyi. Under her breath, shaking her head, Yandi took a deep breath, then turned to the cast. This right here is why women keep quiet. Why we keep carrying weight in silence. Because when the truth comes out, the men flip it, like we overreacting. But I'm done carrying what ain't mine. The room erupted in applause. Even Rashida clapped softly, nodding with respect. Bambi added, say that louder for the women in the back. Yandi turned back to Mendeecees one last time. You had a wife who was willing to fight the world for you. You decided to fight me instead, so fight by yourself. The finality in her tone left no room for negotiation. Mendeecees stood frozen, his arms hanging helpless at his sides. He had no words, no defense, just silence. The cameras zoomed in on his face, then on Yandy's, capturing the exact moment their marriage cracked in front of everyone. The producers didn't yell cut. They didn't need to. The scene spoke for itself. Sierra lowered. Her phone slipped it back into her bag and whispered, almost to herself. And that's the truth. The credits could have rolled right then, but the cast sat frozen, knowing they had just witnessed the kind of confrontation that would go down in love and hip-hop history. This moment will be talked about for years. Sierra came with proof, Yandi, stood her ground, and Mendeecees. Well, he just ran out of excuses. But now the real question isn't what happened in that room, it's what happens next. Does Yandi finally walk away for good? Will Sierra keep dropping more receipts? And can Mendeecees ever recover from this level of exposure? Or is this the end of one of love and hip-hop's most iconic couples? We want to hear from you, okay? Are you riding with Team Yandy, Team Sierra, or do you think everyone played their part? In this messy downfall, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get this conversation going. And if you're here for the real, raw truth, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because trust us, it is just the beginning. The next chapter is about to get even wilder.